In college, Bea and June Umberham never became close. A few times they veered close to being close, but it never stuck. But somehow now they were, because they both had been away. It was not only that they were from here and here again. They were back, they would each say, with a falling sigh, meant to imply that the ends of their stories, the portion that included the startling redemption, had not yet begun. They both lived downtown, in apartments. Bea's was on the top floor of a new building. June rented the second story of a house owned by a couple with a grown daughter, who could sometimes babysit Peggy. After college, Bea had worked in Chicago as a copywriter in an advertising agency. Then, when she was 27, her mother called one week and said she couldn't peel the potatoes. Her hands were so stiff. The next week, she couldn't clean herself after defecating. Rheumatoid arthritis. Even with the special treatment other doctors gave Hazel because of her husband, they determined she could no longer drive. Bea's omnipotent older sister was already married, living in Minneapolis, her first baby on the way. Bea resigned from the agency, offering 2 months' notice. She felt that was enough, given the nature of her reason, and returned. Her father was against it. Weirdly, she thought.
Come up for a visit, but whatever you do, don't quit your job for Pete's sake. Older people get these things. Feet, fingers, teeth. She doesn't need you to live here.
For years, Bea and her mother had puzzled over the myriad details the doctor deemed unnecessary. There was very little to do with anything but acute illness that was, to his mind, necessary. At first, Bea worked for the Press-Gazette, reporting on the controversy surrounding the reforestation camp built by inmates of the penitentiary. She also took photographs, the way she had for De Pere High's Sentinel. Hers was the front-page picture of the children lighting candles on the Norway spruce in front of City Hall. This job allowed Bea time to drive her mother to her club meetings, to arrange her flowers, according to her directions. No, the iris taller, there. A bouquet has to have height at the center. To do the small tasks that mattered but that the doctor could never have done. Bea followed instructions even when they drove her crazy. Her mother was a member of the St. Fiacre Gardeners Club, bread and book, where we read and eat, Hazel explained, doctors' wives, and several bridge leagues. Those first years, Bea dated a few of the boys she'd known in high school who were also home again. At least it seemed to her mother that she dated them. She never really had a steady, not that her mother knew of, not in the way other people meant when they used that word. Bea herself had often been unsure whether a Sunday night excursion to the movies was an expression of romantic interest or of the more simple need for companionship. This uncertainty made Bea's mother shake her head warily. In her day, there was no such thing as a co-ed excursion to the movies that was not a date. What else could it be? She'd say as they talked afterward at the kitchen table, drinking Ovaltine. Hazel always kept a store of Girl Scout cookies. She believed the girls of this generation, some of them, had let the young men get what they wanted too easily, spoiling it for everybody else. Bea's mother had been careful to raise her with the right amount of fear for a girl, and she'd found her intelligent daughter to be a quiet, absorbing student. She'd had smug moments of triumph when Bea was in high school that now pained her to remember. A number of her friends had had problems with their girls. "Boy crazy," she'd said then, in the car on their way home from Lil's house. It never seemed to happen that Bea was truly friends with a daughter of one of her friends, but the girls had known one another all their lives, and could certainly entertain themselves together while their mothers talked downstairs. And her mother didn't worry too much that Bea made other, different friends. Bea seemed, well, better than her friends' girls were turning out. They were all tizzying about hair and makeup and dances. Her daughter showed the normal teenage excitements too, but over different things.